I enjoy working with volunteers because they're doing it for their passion.
Yes.
Their heart is so into it, and they're making that choice to be dedicated. It's
Yes.
different than earning a paycheck, where it can just be a job, just a
Yes.
means to putting food on the table. But when you're volunteering, you're going above and beyond your work life. You're taking time away from your family. Like, you're making a choice to make a difference. And I
Yes.
just see the value in that. Let me ask you this question: why do you volunteer?
Well, I've understand the importance of service. I've always been kind of raised that way, give back. But one of the things that I do it is I want to make sure that I stay connected. I could easily continue to do the work that I do, but I do serve on numerous boards and as a volunteer, numerous committees to really make a difference in our community, because I feel if I'm going to ask someone else to do this type of work, I need to be involved as well. And, one of the things we talked about, volunteers taking the time out to just do it for a reason and purpose.
Let's start off the conversation with, why do you volunteer?
I'm a strong believer that we have to give back. So as people in communities, we're obligated, in my opinion, to give back to the community in which we live, work, and play. So whether it's through our companies, through our work, through volunteering, whatever it is that you can do, I do believe that we have an obligation to give back. And personally, I think we get a lot more out of volunteering than we give. And so I love to volunteer and make a difference.
Why do you volunteer?
For me, I have a personal belief that those that have the ability to give back should give back. The world is an interesting place. There's so much need in this world. And whether it is, economically, whether it's time, whether it's energy, whether it's knowledge, whatever the case is, those that have the ability to give back, in my personal opinion, have a responsibility to do so.
So you've explained like who A Haven is and how you serve. How do volunteers fit into this? Because it would seem like are they licensed therapists? Like, what does that look like?
Especially at A Haven, volunteers are really the backbone of everything that we do. Everything that we offer to kids and families is offered to them at no cost. And we are able to do that because we have a really beautiful team of committed people who are here and who do this work for no pay. They are volunteering just to be here with kids and families. And because of them, we are able to offer our services at no cost. So our volunteer team really is the critical backbone of everything that we do. And, that's intentional for a number of different ways. The cost piece is one of it, but, really we want our services to be reflective of the community that we're serving. And so our volunteer team really handles that piece of it for us as well. And that, the people who are here giving support are just regular people from the community, the same as the families who are coming to access that support.
Well, what you're speaking of there is part of the reason why I promote volunteering, is because it does give purpose and it does give community, and it gives people something to do to keep their skills up or to help someone else so they're not focused on themselves. Like, there's so many reasons that complement what you were just saying.
Absolutely. Volunteering is an absolute great way to use your time and your expertise. And I'm just trying to find new ways to do it and fill. Even if you've been a volunteer your entire life, and a lot of us have, but there are so many ways that now that you do have more time, you can really get into something. You can get into leadership. You can start to become more than, just a casual volunteer. You can actually start something, perhaps even like your nonprofit. Here's your opportunity. So
I would like you to share a story of impact, whether from your bird's eye view as a mayor, or the nonprofits that you volunteer with, or you're the development director with. Just a story of impact that you've seen the world change for good.
I can kind of it's so interesting. I could sit here, I think, for hours, and I could give you individual stories. What I would say, I think if I look at it from the perspective of being a mayor and looking across all of the nonprofits that I work with, it's that, sometimes I think our challenges as society are we believe we have to have a full answer. So we have to be able to solve some giant social issue. And that can become daunting. And I think sometimes we give up when that's how we approach it. But what I would say is that the greatest impact is doing small things in a meaningful way. And when everyone in your community, and this is really truly how I feel about the people in our community, when everyone in our community is doing and giving and serving in whatever way they can, that's when we move forward. And what I would say is that oftentimes what has the most profound impact on someone's life is not some giant thing. It's not, I mean, I wish like I could just go out and buy people houses. I wish, we have millions and millions of dollars to just give away and kind of fix every issue that exists. But what, when you're able to help somebody access a service, when you are able to, sometimes it just takes helping somebody get a pair of shoes to do a specific job, or transportation, or connecting someone in the community with a service they didn't realize was there or available to them. It's making sure that whatever services are provided with dignity and kindness. And at the end of the day, it's really that we are able to connect with one another.
I think this next question's fun. Some people agree with me, some people don't. Think about something that didn't go as planned, kind of like a blooper. And what did you learn from it? What did the experience teach you?
Well, I have an idea. I don't know if it's a big blooper, but my friend, my luggage didn't come for 2 days. Her luggage didn't come for 6 days. And so their market for clothes over there is, they have a huge secondhand market, because they love clothes that are made in Europe and in America, and they're made so much better than even in Kenya. So most everything they wear is secondhand, but we didn't realize that. We had to get a few clothes. So we had to be driven to the market, and she had to buy a few things. But she was used to coming out she had worked for Ernest Young as an auditor, as an internship, and she understood, you wear very professional, very conservative jackets and white colored blouses, and here she's going into an audit, and I'm like, no, we can be a little more casual. And she's like, well, I only have one pair of pants and one top. So I had these pair of pajamas that were just navy blue, like pull-on cotton pants, and then gray kind of a cotton top, and they were pajamas. And I said, here, why don't you wear these? These look okay. Nobody will know the difference. And so she wore them for 1 or 2 days, and finally she got her luggage on Saturday. It had been there on Sunday. And we're like, this is amazing how little we need to live on. We can live on 2 blouses, 2 pairs of pants. Why do we need a huge suitcase full of clothes? So when we were getting ready to leave, we had a big lunch with all of the people we worked with, and we told them that we had gotten her luggage, and she said, yeah, I had to wear pajamas to work a couple of days. And I'm sure you didn't know. And they all looked around the table and started laughing. They go, yeah, we all knew. We all knew you were wearing pajamas to work. We're like, you did? You never said anything. That's awesome. They're like, yeah, we know what pajamas look like. And they definitely weren't your work clothes. So we just learned a big lesson about how little we need to work.
But you learned something, how little that you actually
we
need.
kept saying that over and over again, how little we need to live. And then when her suitcase showed up, it kind of burst on her bed, and she's like, yeah, I don't need this. I don't need this.
So I read someplace there's when people volunteer, they come out with a soft glow. Like there's this beauty to it that they just feel so good about themselves. Like it was not about them for the time. I guess that's what it comes down to. It's others, and then how it makes you feel, just all warm. Just, I don't really know the right word, but I had read soft glow. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way of describing it.
I would agree with that. Yeah, like I've seen my wife come back from from volunteering, and she might have been in a very critical or negativistic kind of mood, and she comes back and she just looks like proud of herself, and she's got this kind of like I like life attitude, very positive, more positive view on life and people and just the soft glow is great. Yeah, I would say I've definitely seen the soft glow.
Amazing. If you could encourage someone else to volunteer or get involved, what would you say to them?
I would say we all have a skill that would be useful to help somebody else. And whether you're a good writer, a good photographer, someone that likes to listen, go to a local senior center or and listen to stories, there's no better way to kind of grow as a person than by helping somebody else out.
You and I had talked a little bit about volunteers and getting them involved in your organization and how they become the greatest advocate for the organization. Can you just talk a little bit about that, like your perspective on that?
So when you volunteer for an organization, like if I can write a check out to World Vision or UNICEF or something like that. But if I go into the organization and I actually serve the kids that are being impacted, like I go to Bolivia and I meet with the kids in a village that World Vision or Compassion or UNICEF or whatever the organization is helping them with education and food. And I meet them face to face and I hear their story face to face. It's more three-dimensional. It creates a heart connection. And so I'd say when your greatest advocates are two types of people that have actually been served in the past they've been personally impacted. So if that kid from Bolivia that I'm sponsoring as, a compassion child, let's say, if that kid grows up, goes to college, comes back, they're going to be more likely to give back to ministries helping other kids. Like we all know a lot of stories of people that have been impacted by a certain type of thing, and then they go back and they give their lives to it. They volunteer or they seek out a position in it. They become advocates of it. So if you're impacted personally by it, there's an advocacy that becomes very strong. You become an evangelist for that organization or that cause. And the same thing is true. So I didn't grow up in poverty. Okay, I didn't grow up worrying about what my meals were every day. But if I volunteer for an organization that does that, and I see the people firsthand that experience it, and become friends with them, there becomes a heart connection to them. So those two, I would say, those two types of factors or those two scenarios, whether you've been personally impacted by it or you've gotten involved in the actual organization and you've seen the impact that it has on people, that creates a stronger sense of advocacy.
Can you share a story of impact that you have seen directly from your volunteering to an outcome? And what does that look like?
I'll start. So at Family Support Line, we have a Winter Wishes program. It's something that we engage outside volunteers to sponsor a family during the holiday season, during the winter season. Our team will put together a list in conjunction with those families of wants and needs. And we match them with donors and volunteers to go out and purchase the items, to come into our space and help compile them. And this past year, write notes of encouragement, so that there was that connection between the family, the person, and the individual, since they weren't physically handing those gifts out. I will tell you, I personally adopted a family. I adopted a gentleman and his son. And the joy of taking my kids to the store to purchase those items, it was the first time, because I have 4, my oldest is 11, my youngest is 5, that all 4 of them got to really participate in something actively like that since COVID. And so going out to the store and being able to, work through this list as a team was awesome. On the flip side, I got to see the back end of it. And I got to hear from our family advocate the emotion from the family after receiving those items. And so we, again, because we protect that family, so the donor is typically not the person giving that gift, it's a staff member, and they never typically will get that feedback because it's private as well. And we learned from this experience that it's probably better not to, even though I was a staff member. But what this staff member shared was this family, the gentleman was so emotionally impacted by the gifts that they received. Nobody had ever done anything for them like that. He's going through a divorce. He's also transitioning his gender, and his child was sexually abused and mentally abused. So what they're going through as a family is a tremendous transition and shift. And so for them to get those gifts was really what they needed at that moment. And she shared that the joy that the father and the son had getting these items and these bags, they looked at each other and they came up with the plan that throughout the month of December, they would each choose one item in the bag to share with the other family member. And they would do that on a daily basis, because part of the child's abuse was that he was denied holidays from the abuser. And he was not, those were punishments. He had Halloween taken away. He would not receive Christmas presents. And so this was the first time Dad was able to provide that for his son. And so I loved the fact that they were going to be able to do this all month long with things like socks. I mean, with things like, essential items. And so that impacted me. That was both personal and work. And I think about that often.
Do you have a volunteer journey?
I do. So I'm not going to lie to you. I was never a big volunteer in high school and college. High school, I was one of the kids that probably could have used the garage's services. I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I only did volunteering because I was told to do so, court mandated. And I never had that passion when I was a young person, right? But I've always been interested in helping. And I think the word volunteering scares people sometimes, because it's a commitment. It's, I signed up to do this and I don't really want to do it. Oh, it's not gonna be worth my time. I'm not gonna make a difference, But I think when we talk about volunteering and you really strip it down, is that you're just helping. And helping isn't always roadside cleanup or tutoring. It's just showing up. I think that really helps people kind of ease into volunteering. And so when I started my job here at the garage, being a member of the leadership team, there were a lot of things that I kind of had to volunteer for. Rotary, other service organizations, etc. And at first, when I started them, I thought, okay, it's for the good of the garage. It's for the good of my career. Once I started these journeys, I can't now imagine my life without them.
All right, so in 60 seconds or less, can you wrap up why you give back? Why do you volunteer? Like, what's your passion?
So it is where I get my joy. Volunteering for me is life. If I were to stop volunteering, I think I would go to I know I would go to a very dark place. It is where I get rejuvenated